Okay, just want to give feedback on the two assignments in general. They were very good. Both were very good. Starting with the leads assignment, everyone did that really well. I think you all got a hang of qualifying leads, of thinking, generating a leads list, thinking about the different aspects of the um, of what makes someone a good quality lead in terms of having the means to buy something, needing something, or using something. Being a user of a product and having money are basically the two main qualifiers. Do they have money, and would they find it useful? If the answer is yes for both of those, that makes them a very good prospect in any sales world. um, and it was interesting seeing the feedback, once you generate the leads list and got started qualifying them, describing the qualifications. Something that's evident in sales, came through in the assignment, and that is, someone who has a strong network gets, has a built-in advantage in sales. Um, if you are connected to people that, either, are in business, that have money, that are, um, depending on where the state of your network is at, you can have a big leg up entering the sales field because you have a built-in network to start with, people who might be in that field or receptive to, either buying your product or referring you to people who would buy your product. Um, so it's something that you really can't control in the sales world. It's something that you just sort of fall into, that by luck, in some designs, you might be, have a better network for a certain job than other people do. Or some of it's by design also. If you choose a specific school, or choose a specific trade group or organization to work with, you might, be able to professionally network and then land a job where that network comes in very handy, and connects you with the people you need to connect with to start making profitable sales. But when you guys qualified them, the people who had four number ones by their name, that qualified in all four categories, were your strongest prospects. Everyone identified that. You know, some people had as little as four people that were strong prospects. Others had over 40. So that's not to say the person who has 40 prospects is going to be the best seller. It just has a slightly better built-in advantage, that you have people that are more, you have probably a lesser threshold to cross to get a sale than someone who might only have four quality prospects. Um, or you may have misjudged the prospects. That's the other thing. So one thing I noticed in a couple was, people were ruling out, um, or disqualifying, in a way, or discounting the people who you don't think have $1,000. I was pleased to see that several of you, put some thought into that and said, well, they don't have I don't think they have $1,000, but they could use financing, they could borrow the money. You talked about other options where, even if they didn't have the $1,000, you didn't rule them out because there were other options for them to pay for it, payment plans. And you never know who's got, money lying around under their mattress. Maybe they bought some Bitcoin or something, or some Dogecoin, and they're doing really well, and they want to drop it on an iPhone or something. So be careful with, the leads qualification. It's an exercise to identify who are your best prospects, not to rule out, any one prospect. So it gives you a hierarchy and say, okay, here's your best prospects. Start with them for the most likely easiest sales. Once you run through those, go to your next level prospects and say, okay, here's all your threes, the 3 points. Work on those next, because then they have the high likelihood of buying. And you just keep working down that list until you either have exhausted that list, or you've generated more referrals from those prospects and qualified them as superior. Um, Leads lists are a mismatch, just a mashup of different qualities of leads that you don't know until you try. You don't know who wants to buy. You don't know who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. If you did know that, it'd be much easier. I really liked in some of the memos, people took the time to make graphs and actually graph the distribution of their leads. So that was a really nice, as a manager, that's a really nice touch to add that level of data analysis and show, look, here's where we stand on leads, and here's what I feel, um, that we have a really strong set of leads here. Um, excuse me. Another, one student even put in, took the number of leads they had in each category, assigned each one a closing percentage, and that was another thing that I didn't, specify, but some people picked up on or thought to apply is that just because you contact them doesn't mean you're going to make a sale. So some of you are pretty confident, and said, I've got, 10 number four, 10 fours, and therefore I'll get 10 sales. It's like, well, in an ideal world, yes, but with closing percentages, you might, maybe you make only half your sales. So of those 10 super qualified leads, maybe you only close 5 of them. So someone took the time to actually estimate what their closing rate was, and put a higher closing rate at the higher qualified leads, and a lower closing rate at the lower qualified leads, which is a very realistic model to make, um, because um, the ones that are less qualified are likely going to be harder to close. And so if you had a lot of data from your company about, leads that you've qualified, leads that you've gone to, and what the sales results were, you can actually find that data and pull those numbers about what's the closing percentage from your top qualified leads, what's the closing percentage from your lower leads, what are the average sales volumes of those leads. um, and so there's data that you can pull out when you have a record of sales. When you have a lot of sales engineers, when you have a lot of sales people, and you've been doing this for a while, you can build up data that makes that very apparent. um, I was going through some things just by chance. I was looking for some index cards for my daughter for school, and I happened to run across my leads from 1999, which were kept old school in a file box. And so in here, I have several different file headings. I have, just in general, I have leads, which is when I get them, I get them from a customer, I write them up and put them on a file card and put them in leads here. Um, and so here's one. Let's see. Patty. Oh, I don't think she'll mind if I use her name because she's dead now. I won't use her last name though. Patty. I have her phone number. I have her address. I have a note here to call her back in July, and then call her back in August. I'll call her back August 11th. So like I'd given her a call. It wasn't a good time. Um, called her back. This one on the person, I put a note of who referred them. So when I call them up and say, hey, I was over at your neighbor's house. I have a note here. It's a neighbor. I was at your neighbor Wally's house. They thought you might enjoy if I stop by and show you these products. They told me that this person is married. They have kids. Um, ooh, actually, I had an appointment set with them, and I went to their house, and they weren't there. They did not. They did not show up. So I had directions to their home on the back. So on the back, I wrote some notes about how to get to their home. And yeah, when I got there, they were a no-show. They ghosted me. I don't think I ever followed up with them. Um, Here's a note. Someone I called and tried to set up an appointment with. They said come call back after August 6th because they are on a trip to Canada and then going on a river cruise. So they have some disposable income if they're traveling. Hopefully they didn't dispose of all their income on that trip. But I put notes here, as with every lead I get from a customer, because I always ask for referrals as part of this job. That when you finish the demonstration with a customer, and they, especially if they buy the product, you say, hey, could you help me out? Do you know of anyone else who'd be really interested in this product, or could benefit from this? So besides the leads, I have a section here for upcoming appointments. So after I made an appointment, I dropped them upcoming appointments, to know what was coming up, and I put them in chronological order. I have a callback list. So if I called them, called the person on the card, made note of calling them, and had to call back later, I put those in chronologically. I have a customer section where I have, my customers with notes about the visit. I have, let's see, uh, more directions on the back. So, yeah, I got their name, their phone number. Again, this one's married with kids. It says what they bought and what they ordered. Hmm. I have some notes on here that I use shorthand, and I don't remember what they are now. Um, oh, I made some notes here. So this woman bought, and then she said her daughter wants the product too, and um, so her daughter was there at the demonstration. Daughter really liked it, and the woman bought some for herself, and said um, and her daughter was really interested. So I made the note there to call them back at the holidays and see if she wanted to buy some products for her daughter. Um, And then so I have a whole customer list here. I even have a section on did not order and do not call back. If they, you know, um, if they said don't call me again, make a note of that, put it back there, and then just a few do not orders here and why they didn't order. And so from that, I was able to figure out some numbers. My I had these numbers better in my head 20 years ago, and I used to use these numbers a lot for planning purposes. But the company said, like, when you did a sales call with a in-home sales call, the company's average order was 120 bucks is what you generate from an order. um, and they would estimate and say, well, if you're on 10% commission, you just made $12 from that order. I was at 30% commission, so on a company average order, I'd make like 36 bucks on a house call that would take 1 to 2 hours. So 30 bucks and 36 bucks in 2 hours isn't bad for an average call, but there's also a closing percentage there. So you have to figure out, well, when I close, I sell. I think my closing percentage was in the 90, was like 85, 90%. Like I very rarely did not order. So that was, one of my strengths, is that I was a good closer, and I could close and get a sale each time. The other thing was, my average order that I calculated wasn't 120, it was 230. So I was looking at, closing. Let's see, and that was including the ones I don't close on was 230. So it was actually higher. If I calculate the average order for the ones I closed on, is probably closer to 250. Was my average order. And so every time I closed a sale at 250, making 30%, that was 75 bucks for 2 hours I'd make. So as a college kid making 75 bucks over the course of 2 hours, I was doing pretty well for myself. But it was inconsistent, because sometimes I'd have a $700 order, sometimes I have a $50 order. So some appointments I'd make, $10, or $15. Other appointments I'd make $200. So the numbers game of being a salesperson is qualify your leads, because you have a limited amount of time to sell, to make calls, to set up appointments, and make do presentations, do sales calls, and everything. You want to qualify your leads, and if you have a finite amount of time, spend that time with the customers most likely to buy, and that's why you qualify them. And so when I would do my when I get my leads referrals, I would ask them, questions that would help me qualify about who they are, how old they are, what they do for a living. So things that, where they live, I could, look at, neighborhoods and everything, um, and get some, make some judgments on whether I thought they'd be likely to buy based on my past experience and what I learned about the customer. Um, and so by doing that, you can optimize the time you have selling to work with the customers most likely to buy, and then also generate the most commission off of those customers. Now, of course, if you run out of those top tier customers, then you can start going down to the ones that were rated threes or twos, and work through those. Um, but again, the better you can qualify your leads, the less time you're wasting as a salesperson calling people who are likely not going to buy, because they don't have the means, they don't have the interest, or for whatever other reason that they aren't going to be potential customers. So are there any questions on the leads assignment, or generating leads and qualifying them? Okay. Um, Now for the RFP assignment. So the RFP assignment, again, I think everyone got the an understanding of what an RFP is, and the RFPs were very good. I didn't grade them yet, because I wanted to give a chance for some people to resubmit them if they wanted to make some changes to it based upon what we're doing with it next. Um, the follow-on assignment for this is, and I want to go back. There were a couple of RFPs that slightly missed the mark on what they were doing. So for the most part, it was very good. Things that you're interested in. I think everyone picked something they were interested in. But the goal is to have something that satisfies that interest that can be bought commercially off the shelf. So a couple tailored it, like, I want to hire someone to design this, or I want to, want someone to make something. We need to have a solution that can be found commercially. So the common one that half of you chose was a vehicle. I think one was electric vehicle, three were vehicles in general. The electric vehicle is a good one because that's a subset of the vehicle market where the way the RFP was structured, it's a it would say, I'm in search of, I would like to purchase an electric vehicle for whatever reason, and the vehicle needs to have these requirements. It needs to, have a range of at least 300 miles per charge. It has to work with this type of charging station, be able to recharge in this amount of time. Have whatever features were important to the person. Um, but try to keep it general enough that there's multiple no product is probably going to be a perfect fit for everything you want, but you want to give enough parameters that someone can understand what your needs are, and they can research that market and say, okay, well, there's like the Tesla, there's the Bolt, there's the I don't know my electric cars well enough to name a few more, but they could look at all the ones in the market right now in North America, and they could do some research on them. And the next phase of it is you're going to receive someone else's RFP. So whatever RFP you wrote, you're going to be a customer, but you're also going to be a sales agent. Oops. You're also going to be a sales agent, and you are going to read an RFP. You're going to look into the available products that could satisfy that RFP, whether it is, um, vehicle, smartphone, home theater sound system, a watercraft, or a high-end teapot, like a smart teapot or tea kettle. Um, you're going to research those, and you're going to pick a product to represent and say, okay, for electric car, I want to represent Tesla. And you're going to be a sales agent then that does a comparative analysis of Tesla versus the other electric cars and come up with a sales pitch for the person who wrote the RFP. You're going to start that with a needs analysis. You're going to contact them and ask them more questions about their RFP is going to help you with your sales pitch. You're going to say, you're going to read the RFP first, get a sense of what they're looking for, just double check and say, okay, this is what you said in here. Which is the most important to you of these things? Which, if you had to pick, the top three, which are the most important? So I have a sense of what are the necessities? Like, what's the must-have? What's the want to have? What are your pain points? What's the problem with your vehicle now? What don't you like about your vehicle now? So all those questions, we're going to talk about needs analysis and discovery tonight. And so the things we talk about tonight with those, you're going to apply in this next assignment to research, a solution to the RFP, represent it, and create a sales pitch for it over the course of several assignments. Um, so make sure that you're working within the scope of the assignment. I did leave the RFP. Again, the RFP is open for, I'll leave it open for the next 24 hours for anyone who wants to revise it, to revise and resubmit based on the information I'm giving you now about how this moves to the next stage. Maybe you don't like what you chose now in retrospect, if you're going to be the customer, because not only do you get interviewed about this product, you have to, you're helping to judge the presentation and the results of the sales pitch, for the because they're going to be pitching something to you and say, all right, you wanted this. Here's, I sell this. There's these competitors. I think you should go with us because of this, this, and this. And so we're going to go through a sales pitch with those products. So I'm gonna email the two people I think need to work on their RFP a little bit after class, and say, recommend they resubmit in the next 24 hours. Everyone else, you can choose whether or not you want to polish it, but after that point, you're going to need to send it to the person who you're assigned to as a customer. So in Blackboard under week 2, there is a list of all your names, all your emails, and the products that you chose. And there's instructions there about who is the customer and who is the sales agent. So each sales agent will have to reach out to their customer in the next few days and schedule an appointment to talk with them to do the needs analysis. And then based on the needs analysis, you'll prepare your assignments for this week, which are listed in week 2. After we talk about the chapters 5, 6, and 7 tonight, they'll make more sense. But basically, you're going to prepare a needs analysis. You're going to do a needs analysis and discovery with the person to understand more about their needs and prepare a document on that. You're going to summarize your findings with some slides and submit those. And the other thing you're going to do is competitive analysis, which is looking at the product you choose to represent and two competing products and compare and contrast them and see where you have advantages that you'll be using as selling points and where your weaknesses may be as a product. Um, so, any questions about that so far? Okay. So those are the two assignments that will be due by the end of Sunday next week. So you have till Sunday night to do them. So I have Monday to look over them and prepare any feedback I need before class. And like I said, you'll have an extra 24 hours for the needs analysis or for the RFP. In fact, I will change the due date on the RFP right now to give that extra day. So it was Sunday, go to Tuesday night. And if you're not going to change it, you can send it right to your sales agent, supply it to your sales agent if you're not going to change anything um, after class or tomorrow. And if sales agents, if you don't get anything from your potential customer, you can, reach out to them also and try to and get the document. So you'll be doing two things this week, both being a sales agent, interviewing someone, plus also being interviewed by someone else. You can do it over the phone. You can do it by video, video meet. If you really want, you can do it in person from a safe distance, of course. Um, it's up to you guys how you want to arrange that and do that. All right, let me stop the recording here.